Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I will show you the gameplay by Hjorvar Steinn and David. And in this game, the game starts with pawn to e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight c6, knight c3, and queen to c7. And here in the first 5 moves in this position, the white is better with the single knight in the center square. Then the game continue and white made a very aggressive attack and control the center by playing the f4 pawn, and with this you have the rank 5 controlled by 2 pieces of the pawn. So the 6th move, f4, a6, knight takes c6 and b takes c6, then develop and push the bishop to d3 and d5 from the black, then the white castling and knight f6 to attack the center pawn, then queen to f3 to add more pieces to the center attack, and bishop to e7. And in this position, white is slightly better owning, and the black is preparing to castling. Then the game to continue, bishop to d2, castling from the black, rook a to e1 and rook to e8, and here the position is quite equal after 12 move. Then white play king to h1 and black play rook to b8, preparing to attack the pawn at b5. And now white continue to pressure the king by playing e5, attack the knight and block the e pawn to push forward. So e5, and now the knight has a very limited place to move, therefore the knight moves to knight d7. And now I give up a couple of seconds on this position, how white can keep moving and attack the black. Can you find the idea of the white move? I give a couple of seconds to figure this out. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the ideas from the white. The white in this position have 2 diagonal bishop, which is a very strong, and now you have the 2 rook in this area. So since the king is in this position, in this nice square, now here the best idea for white to play is keep attack to the king side. So in this game, the white play a very great move by playing f5, and here the next pawn will push forward to f6 and attack the bishop and attack the pawn at g7. And once the pawn is removed from the king, then you can have a many idea of moving the rook to g3 and attack the king. So this f pawn is a very strong threat, and if you capture the pawn, e takes f5, then white is winning the game. For example, after queen takes f5, and now you prepare for a checkmate at the h7 pawn. So if any move from the black, for example, move to pawn a5, then the queen can just capture the pawn and check the king, and the king to go to f8, and you have a queen to h8 and checkmate. So if you queen capture the pawn, then the knight defend it, knight f6 to defend the pawn, and now you can just capture the knight and we will be winning. Or you just move your queen to f3, then knight to, if the knight to move away from being captured by the pawn, for example, you can move back to d7, and your queen can just capture the f7 pawn and check the king and fork the rook, and later we capture the rook. For example, queen takes f7 and check the king, then king to h8, then queen takes e8 check, and you have block with the bishop, then queen can capture the bishop, and knight takes the queen, and you have a rook takes the knight, and you have a back rank checkmate. So after f5, the black play knight to c5, and here white move f6, keep pressure the king, and now the pawn is forked, attack the bishop and attack the pawn at g7. And also you have the idea of queen capture the h7 and checkmate the king. So if we make an example move such as a5, okay, then the bishop can just capture the h7 pawn and check the king. And here you have, in this position, you have made 11 move. For example, bishop takes h7 check the king. So if the king do not capture the bishop and the king move to f8, then you can use the f pawn capture the g7 and check, and this will force the king to recapture the pawn. For example, king takes g7, and now you have the queen to capture the f7 pawn and check the king, as it is protected by the rook. So queen takes f7 and check the king, then king to h8, and now you have the queen to capture the rook. Queen takes e8 and check the king, and if you block with the bishop, then rook takes and check the king. Rook takes the f8 check, and king capture the bishop, then you have rook to h8 check, and king to g7, and you have queen to g8 checkmate. So after knight takes, after the f6, the knight capture the bishop because of the checkmate trade. So after capture the knight, the bishop, then the queen capture back the knight, and here the black made the pawn capture the f6, g take f6, and here is a big mistake because it opened up the file for the king. So basically the best move should be played is bishop to f8 and protecting the pawn. So in the actual game, after g takes f6, and now the e pawn capture, and here white has a very strong game and is clearly winning. So after this, black play bishop to d6, and now the white continue to attack by putting up the knight to e4, and you can have to g5, and here you have a checkmate at this with the queen. So knight to e5. Then black play d takes e4, and white continue to capture with the rook. At the move 20, rook takes e4, and rook to g4 will win the game. So black play rook to b5, and here white continue to check by playing rook to g4 and check the king. So basically now you can see that there's not much move for the king to play. So in the actual game, the black play king to h8, and now the rook continue to attack by playing rook to h4, and with the idea of sacrifice the rook, or you can checkmate with the queen. So rook to h4. Then now the black need to prevent the diagonal check, so rook f5 was split, and now the white capture the rook. Rook takes f5, and here you have a mating idea, and after e takes f5, now you can just move your queen to h3, and the rook can capture and deal with a checkmate. And this rook cannot come to e1 to have a backrank checkmate because the bishop is protecting the square. So after queen h3, and there will be no much move for the black to play. And if the game to continue, for example, if the king move to g8, then you can just capture the h7 pawn. Rook takes h7, then you can just check with the rook to e1 and check. Then after bishop capture the rook, and if bishop takes h2, then you can just simply move rook to h8, and you have a back rank checkmate. And with this, thank you for watching.